Welcome to my Super Smash Brothers journey. We are live from Twitch today, so if you hear me talking, I'm probably talking to some people in chat as well. But we left this off yesterday with the Spectre Knight and some sort of like building behind him. So let's clear this and then we'll go into like Poison Forest that was behind us at the end of last episode. That was super easy. I'm going to start taking risks and trying to knock them off the map when I hit them off. I think that's going to make my skill better because that's going to be like bread and butter to beat players online. We just need more practice to do it. Let's do this. Let's level him up, get him all ready. Cool. That'll be done for tomorrow. We should have put them on yesterday. I forgot. The old PlayStation 3, the big fat one, it did play PlayStation 2 games. I had that one. I didn't realize it did. And I replaced that with the slim version because I thought, why do I need the big one when they've got this new one? They've obviously improved like the parts and technology in there to make it smaller. But what they did was took stuff out of it to make it smaller. And one of the things it took out of it was the ability to play PlayStation 2 games. Can you believe that? Bad move, those are rare. I mean, my one probably would have broken anyway, you know. I had a PlayStation 2 and it broke. Oh no, we're going to avoid that. Wow, I can't believe I beat it at 4% health. But yeah, I wish I kept it because who knows, maybe I could have paid someone to fix it or something. But yeah, I didn't know that I didn't know they took out parts when they made the Slim. So that was disappointing. But the Slim is better. If you're playing PlayStation 3 games, the Slim is way better. That big one was loud and it got a little hot too. But yeah, those retro gaming channels, I would love to know how they do all their stuff. Because they play around like the old stuff. But imagine like the old Nintendos and stuff, trying to like hook them up. Might be easier, might be harder. Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Sony has really been dropping the ball with the backwards compatibility. It's not in their interest, their financial interest, to allow for that. You can't buy this game on you can't buy that on any PlayStation store. So the only way to play it is on the disc. And the only way to play the disc is to have a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 1. And the same for this one, Crash Bash. They don't have, that's like a pretty fun game. It used to be like PlayStation's version of Mario Party. And like that one there, same deal. You can't get it on the store, which is a bit sad because these two were kind of like, this was the Mario Kart of PlayStation and this was the Mario Party of PlayStation. So they were actually kind of good competitors. Kind of sad. I mean, like those two games, they should put them on the PlayStation like store, but they don't. Kind of sad, just losing all these old classic games, which is kind of why I would want to try and work out how to properly stream them and like make YouTube videos on them, because like people will forget about them and then they just die off. Nintendo's a little bit better, but yeah, a lot of their consoles before the Switch, you couldn't capture the gameplay or anything like that, and they usually, the last time they had backwards compatibility was the 3DS and the DS. So luckily I have two 3DSs, so I can still play DS and 3DS games, but yeah. If you don't have a 3DS, you can't play 3DS games. That was sad. I kind of hope that they bring back 3D consoles, because that Nintendo one actually worked really well. This little forest area is easy. All these battles have been pretty straightforward. Kind of wish generally retro or older games it was made clearer though, like super clear. Like this and this is totally fine in each country. There was an MMO Monster Hunter which Capcom has discontinued. You can't actually play that game at all. It's kind of annoying because it's like all these gems that get lost in time. Duck Hunt, cool. He's meant to be a good character. Did Australia use PAL or NTSC2? I think we were PAL, which PAL meant we didn't get a lot of games released. Chrono Trigger came out in Australia, which was like a really popular RPG. I forget what the console was, but it was really popular. And then Chrono Cross is like the sequel to Chrono Trigger. It was on PlayStation 1, but they didn't release it in our region. So you couldn't actually finish the games, like the game off, until I think recent years where you can actually buy it on the PlayStation store. But like, how annoying. Like, you love the first game, you want to see like what the second game's like. They don't release it here. That's the unfortunate thing about the whole like different regions for different games. And there was nothing wrong with that game. It's just they didn't feel like it would make money in Australia because like, I guess at the time Australian wasn't really like big on the gaming stuff, particularly those type of games. Power means that the TVs ran at 50 hertz instead of 60. Ah, okay. Because that's why the PlayStation 3 has an option about 50 hertz. I would love to get something that could like play the 3DS games and the DS games. Like you could just plug in like the little cartridge into your computer and it would play it. I would love that. That would be cool. The PS Vita, they had a product. It was called the PS Vita TV, but it like sold out really quickly and it's really hard to find now. And if you did find it, it would be like kind of expensive. That was sad because I saw it in store once and I was like, why would I want that? I already got a Vita. Found out later why. There we go. That was our first one. I'm just thinking, we had a few games that were not released in Australia, but there was a bunch of like Japanese RPGs that they just didn't bother releasing here because it's like, I don't think they'll sell here. That was the only reason. So they didn't bother like printing off discs to try and converting them to our format. It's kind of cool that these days that's less of a thing because it's all digital and stuff now. Double. I think we're in an easy forest. Seems to be a lot of easy ones. Pokemon Emerald, to buy the game, is like $200 to $300 for the cartridge. And then you need to get like a GameCube. And then on the GameCube, you need to have like the Game Boy Advance attachment. And then you got to connect your GameCube to a TV to a capture card. And then you can finally stream Pokemon Emerald. But to like play it off original hardware, that's why all these games die out. Oh, we're dead, right? He's only got 1 health, but he's still demolishing me. He's literally just 1 health away. Just 1 hit. That's all it's gonna take. He blocked. He's got invincibility. He's got invincibility again. Dude. That was hard because of how much invincibility they put on him. I had a PlayStation 1 console. I sold it to someone for 70 bucks. And then I kind of regret that now because it was actually a solid, like a well-built console. PlayStation 1 was still working. I find that these newer consoles break. It'll happen to my PlayStation 3 too because it's got like this laser in there that's not meant to be very good. That original one, I don't know. I just feel like the electronics were just that like sturdier. I also had a Game Boy Color that I sold too. I don't really regret that, but they are becoming collectibles. I have a Game Boy Advance. I got 2 of them. I got a PSP, a PS Vita, PlayStation 3, and Nintendo 3DSs. That's my like retro stuff. I think that's all of them. And also, it wouldn't be too bad to stream from it. It had pretty decent connections and there's good adapters for it and stuff. Like simple, plug and play. It's not like you have to get software updates and make sure like you're logged into a PlayStation store and all that stuff. To update my like PlayStation 3 today, I had to log into the PlayStation store, which I put in my normal stuff. And then because it was a PlayStation 3, I had to go to like the PlayStation site and register the console to my account, which is like weird. And then it like populated all my like historical downloads and stuff. I guess that's why. But I was like, man, this is just me trying to update the console. So I could use the Blu-ray player because some of the some of the Blu-ray certificates had like expired. You never sold your PlayStation 1, but you don't know where it is? You know what's crazy if what happened to me? So when I was a kid, we had a Nintendo and we had a crate full of games. It would have been at least 100 games. And then one day my mom gave all of those to the kids down the street, console, and the whole box of games. There was a lot of like classics in that box. If you had those today, I'm pretty certain there were games and they're worth like $200 to $300 today because they're original games and not like fake ones. But we had all the originals like Double Dragons, the Batman ones. Like we had all those ones, Duck Hunt with the gun and stuff. Man, if you still had that stuff. The one game I'm pretty cut about, I don't know if I lost it or if someone stole it from me. It's Pokemon Blue. I had that on its cartridge and I used to keep it with Pokemon Yellow on a cartridge. I have Pokemon Yellow in the same spot that I've always had it. Pokemon Blue's not there. There's only one explanation. Like I used to be in a shared housing at one point. I reckon either like during that time it disappeared because sometimes people would like play my games and stuff. Maybe one of them, saw it and like never returned it. Or I remember loosely one day I did take out the battery in it so that it wouldn't break. Maybe I put it in a different location and I just haven't found that yet. But yeah, I can't find it. I'm pretty cut about that one. They're collectible. The cartridges look really neat. They're kind of cool to display. Pokemon Yellow is the same game. It's actually better, but you know, it's not the original ones. It's not like Red or Blue. The crazy thing about them old Pokemon games is that I had a choice to get Pokemon Blue or Pokemon Red, and I liked Blastoise more than Charizard, so I picked Pokemon Blue, right? Turns out most kids got Pokemon Blue and not Pokemon Red, so the price of a Pokemon Red cartridge is like way higher than the price of a Pokemon Blue cartridge because they sold less of the red ones. So I was like, if I had the red one, that one's like a really good collectible. The blue one, not so much. It's a bit cheaper. Still a little bit, but not the same. Pokemon Red, way cooler. What the hell? See, yeah, you like the Charizard, right? I was a kid, understood the idea of collectibles and told my mum that I should keep these games because they'd be worth a lot of money in years to come. She told me that electronics have reduced in value over time. So she convinced me that trading them in was the better idea. Now some of those games I see on eBay selling for a fortune. Damn. So you don't have Pokemon Red anymore? You sold it? Oh my goodness, she just did a massive ult. It would be cool to have every cartridge of the Pokemon games. That would be kind of cool, and just have them on a wall. The problem with those old NES games and Game Boy games is every one of them has a battery inside them. The battery leaks over time, right? So you have to make sure you take the battery out, otherwise it'll like leak and just destroy the cartridge. And the other thing is nowadays, if you try and buy the cartridge, people have made fake versions where it's not the original cartridge. It's like one that looks like the original, but you open it up and it's different inside. It's still the game and all that, but it's like buying a fake Lamborghini, right? People will find out and it's not worth much. How like a lot of them get lost in time because of the whole lack of backwards compatibility and unclearness in copyright law, essentially. I think we need the green one. This is a strong one. This is a strong area. Emulation legality, streaming those games legality, all of those things are questionable. I mean, not that I would do this, but I've seen streamers, big streamers. I think this is like so risky, but I don't really know. Maybe they asked a lawyer or something. They'll get onto a YouTube channel and it will have like TV shows, and then they'll stream the TV show to their audience, and they'll have like 2,000 people sitting there watching the TV show. I'm like, that's pretty risky. I don't know how they're getting away with that, because I would think that there would be maybe they're not in one way, but I was like, man, those people, they're like big streamers. I always wondered, I'm like, how come they're not getting sued? Like, show their face and everything, do it regularly. I think they have like watch parties would be the way to say it. That to me confuses me, because I'm like, is it something, am I the one that doesn't know the law here? Like, is there something I've missed? Has something changed in like America or something? But then another part of me is like, oh, maybe it's just them. But streaming games in general, question mark. How come that doesn't fall within like copyright stuff? If this was a movie and you're publicly displaying this movie, in the old days, that used to be picked up in like copyright, depending which country you're in. Like you couldn't just buy a movie for private use and then just like put it in a cinema, right? And streaming's kind of like that in a way, is it not? Like, it's kind of like out there. So what's the difference with like showing someone a video game? Like, you could have someone come to your house and watch you play video games, and that's fine. But the question is, how come playing video games on the internet is different to watching a movie on the internet with many people? That's the question. We didn't know if it was a yes or a no, just like posing the question. I don't get why they're so fussed about older generation emulations. Like, you either don't have the hardware to play them on or cannot find games themselves. At least this way people still play the games, keeps it relevant. I think Nintendo would be all over the emulators for Nintendo games, but I think Nintendo can't get the people that make emulators because it has nothing to do with Nintendo. So the best Nintendo could do is stop people from jailbreaking their consoles. So there used to be a company that sold a thing that you could plug into the Switch, and it would allow people to like play games another way. And that's what happened, was someone had like leaked Breath of the Wilds too soon or something. And so before they had time to like sell Breath of the Wilds, there was already some like copies sitting on the interwebs and people were using this device to play it. I didn't know about this until later. So Nintendo took that company to court to try and stop them from selling that device. But they only took them to court after that Breath of the Wilds thing and won. So that device no longer can be sold. That company's shut down. down. But then you think about it, there are still emulators sitting out there for like Nintendo. There'll be an emulator that can play a Switch game, theoretically, but that company doesn't get sued. And I think it's the difference is that like one is breaking Nintendo's like system. There must be something with that. And the other one is just like someone built their own console. Nintendo was caught using emulators to display their old games and events. Oh, really? Oh my gosh. That's also so stupid, right? Like clearly there's a problem then. Different licensing agreements between games and movies. Oh, that would be it, hey. Yeah, I guess a video game, by watching the game, you don't get the full experience of the game. But if you watch the movie, you get the full experience of the person that bought the movie. It is different in that regard, hey. Like, I could watch someone play this game, but it's not going to be anywhere near as good as playing the game. And usually I'd watch the game, like on YouTube, check the review, so that I could decide if I want to buy the game. Gaming reviews wouldn't exist. All the devs would be on top of the people. Hey, stop reviewing my game. Take down that video. You know, there'd be all those DMC claims on that. Obviously, Twitch wouldn't exist. But like, it is interesting that's never properly clarified why it is. I guess you would have to like talk to a lawyer to work out how or why it sort of fits within the laws. But it is interesting, I thought. I just wish they made it so clear. Like, it's this and you could find it easily, but you read the laws, it's really confusing and stuff. It confuses you. Nintendo also shut down a few tourneys, not even locals, just gathering of people because they had emulation for older games and not on the original hardware. Interesting. Did they win in the end though? Because I'm not sure if that's like, I'm not sure how that would go in court. Like, did those people sue Nintendo in the end for doing that? Hold on, I need to think about this because it's a tournament. That's different, a tournament. Let's say someone had made a console that plays a Nintendo game, and then someone brings that Nintendo game, and it's like Super Smash Brothers, where like 8 people can play together. And so they do a tournament with 8 people, and Nintendo comes along and say, hey, you can't play that cartridge on that console, shut this thing down. I don't understand how that's allowed on their part. Like, the only thing in question there is that console. Like, you could have a Nintendo console, the cartridge, put it into the Nintendo cartridge, have all your friends over, do a tourney, that's fine. Now, if you bought someone else's product that happens to play that cartridge, is that legal? That's the question. Can they own that product? Or does it have like, it's so confusing. Like, is there some sort of, there would have to be some sort of like, if Nintendo makes a Switch, there must be something in their code that allows the Switch games to be played. But if you found another solution that was different to their code and you have your own unique code, 100% unique, that happens to also play that game, the question is that a possibility? Like, could somebody replicate that and then not have a court case of Nintendo? Or is the fact that it plays the Nintendo game, is that it, done deal? It's about licensing and the economy. But the cartridge is a real cartridge. Like, you've opened up your PlayStation disc, right, for example, and you've plugged it in. But instead of putting it into a Sony console, you put it into some other thing, some other console. And that other console is a totally different, unique code. It's got nothing from Sony. They built it themselves. They did their own R&D and came up with a way to play the PlayStation 1 disc without reading without copying any code. I'm just like, that's the bit that's so confusing. Because like, on a normal circumstance, that's totally fine. But when it comes to electronics, people just don't know the answer. The main idea of copyright is stopping others from stealing people's hard work. Yeah. But if 2 people make a time machine, it depends, right? Because there's that like IP stuff, right? Intellectual property. They can't do that. The game needs Sony code to run. Okay. So then here's my next question. How is emulation allowed? Or is emulation not allowed? So if someone makes another device that can play Nintendo games, you have to surely copy the copy protection code. And that copy protection code will be copyright. That's the thing. I don't know how it works. You guys are the computer people. So you're saying that there's only one way to solve that problem. Emulation is not allowed as it infringes on company rights to sell and distribute consoles. Oh, so you're like challenging the idea of the console. So if I made a console and then someone else made an emulator of the console, I don't know, because like I didn't build that emulator. I'd be annoyed because I'd be like, hey, that's kind of doing what my thing's doing. And then they would be like, I built that off on the side. It's got nothing to do with your thing. It doesn't use the same parts as yours. It's very different to your thing. It's actually its own thing. It's unique. Like, that would be their argument, right? And I guess we'd have to go to court over it, I suppose. and result in economic loss. But they could go the other way too. You're stopping them from using their product. I mean, it depends on your country, right? I think this is the problem. It probably like changes depending on the country, right? I can't get to this next bit. I don't know what to turn on and off here. Let me just click stuff. You know about COVID, not expert in copyright, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You need a lawyer, and you need a lawyer from your country, or just be able to read the laws. But it's so interesting. That's why I bring it up. It was so interesting. It's so much one of those areas though, that people don't want to talk about for obvious reasons, right? Which is kind of the problem with it. It's like it's not open enough. But what I read on it, I read some different things on it. Like I didn't look at US one. I looked at like Australian stuff, and there's been court cases that have gone to court. Now, not for the new stuff, but for like the old stuff that's sort of like borderline outside of their IP thing. There was some technicalities. Let's just say that. There were some technicalities which changed the answer. So in one situation, it might be fine, and in another situation, it's not fine. And that's the problem. It's like, what's the like facts and circumstances that made it fine versus not fine? It's very specific. It's very, very specific. So you have to separate it all, right? You have to separate it. There's the ROMs issue. There's the software issue, and then there's the hardware issue. So if I put together some bunch of electronics that happen to be in the right way that allows me to make a console, I've got the hardware. I made that myself, but like it won't let me play a PlayStation game. It might have the same disk drive and like the same memory and all the other stuff that it requires. But I need the software, you know, because it's probably something else. And then the question is, okay, if I made the code from scratch, if it's the same code as Sony, then I'm in trouble. Then I can't do it. But if it happened to be a different solution to the outcome, then it's like borderline. Like, what's the answer there? That's question mark, right? And then it goes into the last bit. Okay, if you've done that, what about the games? You know? Yeah, I'm pretty lost. I don't know what to do. Does anyone know? I'm lost in our conversation and lost in Smash. Isn't it like so interesting what we're talking about, and this is a circuit level? I should be able to route the electricity there, apparently. Maybe I'm meant to do this. Turn this one off. The other thing about console is that you can't run anything made for them without the original libraries from Sony or so. And it's very, very hard to reverse engineer games back to readable code. It's very, very hard, but it doesn't mean that's impossible, right? So like, the world's a big place. So it's like, what if someone did do that? That's the problem. And then you bought their product. Someone's going to court. I think that's the summary, right? Someone's going to court, and then they probably like settle or something. Probably like, so we never find out the answer. Let me read this. The other thing about console codes is that you can't run anything made for them without the original libraries from Sony or so, and it's very, very hard to reverse engineer games back to readable code, then port them to other systems. Let's go on a sidetrack. So, depending on your country, some countries allow you to have a DVD, and if you buy the DVD, there's a risk that will break. So, you can keep a copy of it as a backup. Like, you can have a backup copy. Depending on your country, some countries that's not the case. Problem is, how do you get the copy? Like the mechanism. There's a question marks over that, but there's a right way to do that. And then say you get your copy. The problem is this, okay, you got your copy. Then what do you do with it? You need a cartridge that you can copy that to, that the Nintendo will be able to read. Option 1. Or option 2, have your like emulator read it. But then it goes into the emulation question. You see where the complexity pops up? Which is why everyone's just like, don't bother. Interesting, I think that's consumer right protection. It's probably linked to that. There's definitely something on it. Like, I'm pretty certain if you bought a hard drive and you put all these files on it, after like 20 years, those files might not be on that hard drive anymore. So then how do you protect it? You keep a copy of your documents, and that's fine. I don't know what happens if you took a copy and then lost the original. I don't know what happens in that circumstance. So as long as you can like be like, there it is, like I've got it. But then you've still got the issue of how do I play it? No, I'm questioning whether you can... I'm questioning this. Can you stream a game that's emulated? That's the question. Or is the only way to stream the game on original hardware? Do I need to go buy a PlayStation 1, get all the old school cables, connect that to a capture card? And then if I do that, is that fine, right? And then, okay, well, how do you do that in a way we don't need to do that? Is there another way? There was a company doing that for Switch, but you need a unique cartridge ID to run the game. So you can't use a backup on legal device while the original runs somewhere else. I'm gonna have to research my laws first. I'll have to get the whole disclaimer on screen. This game is a original, played on original hardware, proof. Show the proof. But I like to do things the right way, that's all. I feel like that's important. I do think there is a technicality in hardware though. I believe there are ways, because like software, there are different ways to solve a solution. I believe you could make something that could play like old school NES games, for example. Like that would be possible. And I don't think Nintendo can be like, hey, you just made a Nintendo. No, I didn't. I made something different that happens to also play Nintendo games. But the thing is, you'd have to open up the code to see how does it play the Nintendo games. And if it is different to what Nintendo coded, that's fine. But if it's like exactly the same, then you'd have to go into IP and like, have they still got the IP on that code? And if they do in that country, well then I'm sorry, that console can't be played. But then the question is, what about the person that bought the console before the court case like passed? That's where it's like gets real problemsome. Shame Tekken 3 wasn't ported to PlayStation 5. Exactly. That's exactly why I'm having this conversation. Because I have Tekken 3 on a disc. I have a PlayStation 3 that plays the Tekken game. I want to play Tekken 3 on stream. That's my goal. But it's just like, oh my god, it's such a nightmare trying to work out how to do it. Like, I've got the console, I've got the game, I know how to play it, but the bloody capture card doesn't pick it up. Anyway, I'll do more research. Tekken 5 has 1 and 3 on it? I have Tekken 5. What do I have Tekken 5 on though? I have it on, I have Tekken 5. I have it on PlayStation 3 though, which means it doesn't help. Unless PlayStation 4 plays a PlayStation 3 game, PlayStation 4 you can then like capture card it. It only has the arcade version though, so it's not the full version of Tekken 3. Also, it doesn't have Gone. I have Tekken Tag 2, I found out on PlayStation 3, the disc, and I'm pretty certain I saw I had Tekken 5. So unfortunate that PlayStation 3 isn't like PlayStation 4. I don't think we're beating Pikachu today. That's okay, we'll end this Smash video here. This Smash/emulation question video. I hope you enjoyed today. We were way off topic, but it was interesting conversation. If anyone on YouTube knows the answers to this and can link us to the legislation, that would help. That would help a lot. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.